Know your enemy and know yourself. One of the oldest principles of military strategy remains just as relevant in the fight against cancer. To prevent or defeat it, we must first understand where cancer comes from, how it can arise from the body's own normal processes. This idea is at the heart of Carolina Guibentif's research, which aims to stop cancer before it even begins. Her work focuses on understanding how childhood leukemia, the most common cancer in kids, might originate during pregnancy, even before birth. She believes that by unraveling the earliest steps of blood cell development, we might uncover what goes wrong and discover ways to prevent or treat leukemia early.
So yes, if we are successful, the idea would be that in the future we would be able to identify biomarkers that allow to detect the disease early on, maybe already in the womb, who knows.
Inside our bones lies the bone marrow, the factory for blood cell production. Here, special cells called stem cells generate immature blood cells, which then mature into functioning blood cells. But in leukemia, genetic mutations occur in these stem cells, often during pregnancy. These mutations block immature cells from maturing properly. Instead, they grow uncontrollably.
And so the cells will just proliferate, just like any other cancer. And what happens is that they start taking up space in the bone marrow, and they basically kick out the regular cells that are needed for the body to function. And that's basically when it becomes deadly.
But where and when do these genetic errors occur?
That's also where basically my research meets the leukemia field, because I'm interested in development, and particularly in the development of the blood system in the embryo. And so it's basically throughout the years and going to conferences, I found about this link and this importance of actually studying how blood develops in the embryo to learn about how these cells can become leukemia.
Studying blood development in the womb is challenging. To overcome this, Carolina Guibentif has developed techniques to replicate the process in cell cultures. Using human pluripotent stem cells capable of transforming into almost any type of cell, she mimics the embryonic development of the blood system. The stem cells are grown as aggregates in small wells, where they are programmed to become blood cells.
So at day one, they've been clumped together for 24 hours roughly, so they aggregate and they form this, we already call them embryoid bodies at this point, and we'll have 96 of those. And then at day 6, we'll let them grow, so you can see after a week they've become a bit bigger, and they start having this very defined edge. And inside there's actually some structure that start forming. There's some networks of endothelial cells similar to blood vessels. And then if you give them another week, these embryoid bodies start producing actual blood cells. So here we have an embryoid body that has produced quite a good amount of white blood cells.
However, the blood system is incredibly complex. It forms in multiple waves across different locations and time points in the embryo, making it hard to fully replicate. To address this complexity, Carolina Guibentif and her team combine human cell models with live mouse studies and advanced tools like single-cell analysis. This technique examines gene activity in individual cells, capturing the expression of all genes at once. The result is massive data matrices containing billions of individual measurements. Computational analyses are then used to process this data, enabling visualization of the cells based on their gene expression patterns. This makes it possible to identify distinct stages of cell maturation. Carolina Guibentif and her team also use this approach to study stem cells with genetic differences that are linked to leukemia, such as trisomy 21, found in children with Down syndrome. These children are at a much higher risk of developing leukemia.
And then the idea would be to figure out, are there any genes that these cells are dependent on to proliferate? Are there any biomarkers? Are there any factors that they secrete that we might be able to identify as biomarkers in the future? So that someday we might find new drug targets, basically, or biomarkers that would allow to detect disease early on.
By studying how these genetic changes influence blood cell development, the aim is to uncover why certain children are more susceptible to cancer and explore potential ways to protect them.
It's sort of a relay sport. Not a single person will be able to find all the way from the gene, the molecule, the cell in the embryo, all the way to the drug that will cure the patient. So, I mean, of course, my biggest wish in the future is that what we're doing is contributing to a better life for everybody. So, you know, cure for cancer, maybe identifying ways to avoid developmental disorders, but every step in the way is a move forward.